right, thank you for staying with Citizen TV. The State of the Nation discussion starts right now, where we talk about matters, politics, and everything in between there. We'd like to hear your views at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. My guest already with me here in studio is Excellency Dr. Matthews Owile, the Deputy Governor for Kisumu. Thank you for making time. Honorable Karoli Omondi is here, Member of Parliament for Suba South. Asante sana for making time. And Honorable John Nyutu, Senator for Murang'a, is also with us. Thank you very much for making time. We're still waiting for Javas Bigambo, a political strategist. As soon as he comes in, we'll rope him into the discussion. But gentlemen, let's start off with a look at the dailies. And the front page of the Standard, this is what they're leading with. Haiti, pain and death. They say Kenya's 15-month mission in Haiti ends not in triumph but in tragedy. 3 officers dead, families grieving without closure, and a force plagued by understaffing, poor equipment, and diplomatic missteps as the UN ushers in a new gang suppression force that might include the Kenyan officers or leave them out. The question lingers, and this is the question I'd like to hear Joe's reaction on. Was Kenya's costly gamble a symbol of solidarity or a reckless venture paid for in blood? Was this a symbol of solidarity or a reckless venture?
Good, Trevor, and good morning to all the viewers.
Good morning.
I think the answer is in the last part of the last sentence. That was exactly how the Standard has put it, a reckless venture paid for in blood. And why do I say this? I say this because everybody in this country was against the idea of Kenya sending police officers to Haiti. Because, of course, the question was, how prepared were we? I mean, which other countries were also offering to join with our police officers that we are going to send them? And I mean, had we made proper arrangements? And the other question that had lingered at that time was, I mean, you cannot purport to be solving your neighbor's problems while you have more problems at home. The question I remember that time that most of us were asking was, I mean, how secure are our citizens? I mean, how well policed is our country before we start thinking of sending our troops, police troops, to Haiti? And these are questions that were there. Now there is the report of these deaths, and the most disheartening, Trevor, is especially the way the disclosure of the loss of life of these particular police officers, especially one, Mr. Kabiru, the way the president disclosed that the police officer had died. It was, to say the least, inhuman. I mean, before the family members were informed of this death, the president was there at Unga announcing the death of Kabiru, even before the family was notified. And the reason and the excuse that the CS in charge of Interior gave was actually like an insult, that it was about the time difference between, I think, New York and here. Yeah. I mean, and there were those questions. I mean, the president's speech is not prepared that morning. It is a speech that is prepared days into, especially when it is about such an important international, you know, engagement and congregation. I mean, so, you know, mystery, you know, disrespect for Kenyans and Kenyan lives. And so I agree completely with the Standard that it was a reckless venture, reckless because we did not consider things that we were supposed to consider. Yeah. And paid for in blood. Okay. But most importantly, the recklessness was actually displayed by President Ruto himself, in the way he announced the death of this one police officer, Kabiru. All right. But for the other officer who is said to have died through a road accident, I think a post-mortem revealed that was true, that it was through a road accident. But Trevor, it was a mission that we should not have engaged in the first place. All right.
Honorable Modi, was this necessary? Was this mission necessary to begin with? This was a big discussion at some point, including the disclosure that Joe is talking about in Unga about the death of Kabiru. But was this mission itself necessary?
Trevor, I have a slightly different opinion on this matter. One of the books I read when I was a young man, and which opened my eyes to slavery and the impact of colonialism, is a book by C.L.R. James. It's called The Black Jacobins. The Black Jacobins are the Haitians, the first slaves who freed themselves and defeated none other than Napoleon Bonaparte to gain their independence and established the first African-run government. That was Haiti. If you study the history of Kenya, you'll understand the strong links we have with the Caribbean people. In where we are in Kilimani here, you'll hear of Marcus Garvey Road, George Padmore Road. These are people who contributed significantly to the liberation of Kenya and Africa as a whole. So we have very strong historical links. And Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere and has been under disorder for a long time. And Kenya has a lot to learn from Haiti. When we talk about political gangs and goons that you see in our country, those things started in Haiti, and that's the reason why you see the disorder in that country.
Yeah.
But it is wrong for humanity and for Africa always to keep away, and leave the responsibility of some of these things to the white people. So for me, I was actually for Kenya going to Haiti. But the reasons may have been different, because involvement with the UN comes with a lot of other benefits. The troops get paid well, or the police get paid well. They are given good equipment. There could be other support that comes to the country post that particular mission. But you see, Kenya didn't go there alone. Kenya was supposed to be the lead mission. There were supposed to be other countries contributing, which did not happen. So it's the multilateral system, the United Nations in particular, and the United States that did not pull their weight. Not that Kenya was reckless to go in there alone. I've always wondered why, whenever there's an international crisis affecting people of black origin, Africans don't speak. We don't even make a contribution. We don't do anything. Yeah. Haiti was plundered by France after they won their independence. The equivalent of $30 billion that was taken away. At some point, the Americans actually went with warships to Port-au-Prince, broke into the central bank, and took gold worth billions of dollars from Haiti. So Haiti has been mismanaged not just by its own people, but by the international community. And Africa has to speak about these things. We can't just keep quiet.
All right. Let me hear what DG has to say about this. DG, was this mission necessary?
Well, Trevor, first of all, thank you for having us here and having me all the way from Kisumu. I've just intimated that my brother John Newton seems to have a permanent seat on this table. Now, governments have to make decisions once in a while. And once decisions are made, they are taken to be decisions made by government on behalf of the country. And I remember the debate when, it was apparent that the administration, the Kenya Kwanza administration, wanted to send police to Haiti. And it divided the country, right in the middle. I am on record as saying that I didn't think the mission was necessary then. And, when you want to give out help, or if you want to give out something to anybody, you want to, first of all, also think about yourself. And I think what my brother John Newton was saying is something that we need to really consider in our future engagements. If we are going to engage our police elsewhere, are we saying that as a country we are so well policed that we can now afford to offer that help, to any other place? I am of a different opinion, and then and now, that in terms of police involvement in any other case, even if not the Haiti one, I would prefer that we think about ourselves first. Your heart there pumps blood to itself first before pumping to the rest of the body. So we need to think about whether we are really where we want to be in terms of policing ourselves. But that said, as I've told you, governments make decisions. So they made a decision, they made it on our behalf, okay? Whether we like it or not, we have gone out there, we've lost some officers, we have picked, our lessons, and I am happy that the mission is coming to an end so that our brothers and sisters can come back home apply the skills and the experiences they have gotten in Haiti, back home, and hopefully, manage our security much better. Okay. So the administration, as it is, will have to live with it. Yeah. It is one of the things that probably, as Kenyans, we will use to judge them. Okay. Whether the decision they made was a correct one or not.
All right. And joining us now is Javas Bigambo, is a political strategist. Javas, was this mission necessary, the mission in Haiti?
Thanks, Trevor, for this invitation to join this very esteemed panel to engage in diagnostic discourse on matters governance and politics in Kenya. Jumping into matters Haiti, I would say that first, Kenya is a member of a responsible committee of nations. And by that reasoning alone, it's important for Kenya to always engage with other sister nations. I commiserate quite deeply with families, friends of those who've lost loved ones in the Haiti mission. But I think we must appreciate the necessity of Kenya, first of all, being a member of the United Nations, and secondly, remember that Kenya is also a member of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, which is a conglomeration of about 79 member states. And affairs that affect other countries are affairs that we must always be involved in. Trevor, it was out of judiciousness and conscientiousness of the spirit of the Committee of Nations that Kenya found it important to get to help the Haitians in trying to restore order in their country. And it was not just a mission that was left to Kenya alone. It was just leading the mission. Other countries are part of it. And the challenges that have faced that mission should not be placed upon the shoulders of Kenya alone. Secondly, it is important for us to appreciate that even the United Nations itself has wrapped its mind and the Security Council around the issues of Haiti. And therefore, it is an issue that affects the entire umbrella of nations. Thirdly, there will always be lessons to be learned and to see how we can do better in other times. But Trevor, as a matter of fact, we should, at the back of our minds, ask ourselves, when there is instability in one nation, who benefits from it? And I came in when my relative, my senior here, Mheshimiwa, was speaking to the issues and getting into matters of the Black Jacobins. And all of us, I think, are natural students of literature and history. I would say that even when you cast your eyes on the African continent, come here to the DRC, go to the Sudan, etc. and whatnot, there are some countries that are benefiting from the instability of some other countries. Now, that aside and the politics of hedonism therein, I think we must appreciate the conscientiousness of President William Ruto to inspire the people of Haiti, that a distant nation across the ocean and other countries are concerned about their welfare, their stability. And remember that, even when South Africa was having its own challenges, countries from as far as Cuba and others were coming in to help. So affairs of one nation should not just be left to the people of that nation alone. So I think it was a very important mission, and we must celebrate the effort, the sacrifice, and the commitment of our security forces.
All right, we're about to take a break, but let's take a look at the Daily Nation front page again. Milking taxpayers dry, and here I want Joe Newto again start us off on this one. Shadowy farm set for 17 billion shillings payout. This is just a review of the general newspaper. 136 newborns dead amid Kiambu doctors strike. But let's focus on that headline there, Joe. what is the best way of dealing with corruption in this country? Because this one now seems to be cases that have been won in the judiciary, but then the firms seem to have some shadowy conversations on the sideline. They're tainted in one way or another. You can see the SBI International fined over 9 billion by an Israeli court for bribing Kenyan officials to secure contracts. Now the courts have awarded it a 6.4 billion shillings over contracts that somehow was told. There's another one there in Abesa, the Spanish firm filed for insolvency in 2016, and Kentraco terminated its contract, and arbitration awarded it 8.7 billion shillings. How do you judge this? Is this corruption, or what is this? Because now this is certified court cases, but then they've been awarded, but the firms have questionable dealings.
You know, sometimes in this country, Trevor, somebody wonders exactly where our problems emanate. Because sometimes the judiciary lets Kenyans down. Because like the cases that we have here of, you know, firms that like this the Ketraco thing, a firm that had been declared insolvent, and then still courts award such a firm, you know, billions of shillings. So sometimes the judiciary and these problems have been there, these complaints have been there, that the judiciary sometimes lets Kenyans down. In fact, even in terms of the kind of bail terms that they give to people, prosecuted for corruption. And so I think the judiciary also will have to because they are Kenyans also. Most of the judges that we have are Kenyans. Mm-hmm. And they need also to look at this problem and not just look at the law. I think, I don't know what they call it in legal jargon, but I think the judiciary needs to make determinations in a way also, even taking care of the law, but in a way also that looks at other aspects of any particular issue. But Trevor, we also have this corruption because it is entrenched by, I think, high echelons in government, or those that serve in high echelons in government. And why do I say this, Trevor? I mean, although we have not gotten into it, but you know, currently we are having a problem, for example, because one Rotich was director of audit and I think something, deputy director, and who was a whistleblower about the 10 billion Kenya shillings lost by SHA through fraudulent claims by some hospitals that actually, according to reports, were not even, some of them could have been non-existent. And because somebody like that and others have lifted the lead on this corruption, then we tell them, we kind of fire them because they are not listed or shortlisted. And that is a story that you have carried out even here. I think you read that story today.
All these happening, shortlisted for another role.
Yes, all these happening in the midst of so many other genuine claims that have not been paid, especially from mission hospitals and private hospitals. As we all know, it is today, I mean, no private hospital is recognizing or treating any patient that is covered under SHA. And that is something that is there. So what does this tell you? That that corruption is allowed to fight back. That if you whistleblow in a big deal that is corrupt, then actually you will even be fired. So what I'm trying to say, Trevor, is that why this corruption is there is because it is being defended or protected by some high and mighty powers. And that is why we keep going around getting these problems. Plus now, of course, the judiciary that does not seem to be very committed to rooting this very unfortunate cancer in our society.
Okay. Yeah. Let me bring Karoli on this. Karoli, is this corruption or is it also sheer incompetence from the authorities who are in charge? Because you can see the Treasury for the 2025-2026 financial year indicate that they're going to pay this out. But it means then that some of these contracts were valid and then they were terminated wrongfully and then courts awarded. In as much as the companies have questionable dealings, these are legitimate cases. that they won and they've been awarded. So whose fault is this? Is it an incompetence from the side of the people who are awarding the contracts and then terminating them wrongfully, or is it just sheer corruption?
No, Trevor, all those things you have said are true, but the correct nomenclature for this is state capture. And I've always challenged you, the media. We should, if there's one topic we should spend time on, is state capture. And I'm ready to come to JKL Live and spend 2 hours on state capture so that we educate Kenyans what is going on. What is happening here is not new. Many years ago, Kenya contracted a company from Austria to build a fertilizer plant, Kenren. It was fully paid for, and the plant was never built. So there's nothing new here. This is how Kenyans have been conned all along under the state capture arrangements that we have in this country. But we will deal with that another day. You see, generally, as a principle of law, any contract tainted with corruption is unenforceable. Do you remember the duty-free case? There was somebody I knew very well, Nasir Ibrahim Ali. He came here through the late Ezekiah Oyugi, and they got the deal to manage the duty-free shops. And when Patni later connived when Oyugi fell out of power and took over the duty-free shops, they went to International Center for Arbitration, ICSID, a World Bank arbitration panel.
Yeah.
And he swore an affidavit that to secure the contract, he was advised to take maize to Moi, maize. It turned out the maize was $3 million in a briefcase. They went with a briefcase with $3 million, and they came out with the same briefcase containing maize. On that basis alone, ICSID ruled that it is true his rights to manage the duty-free were terminated unlawfully. But because he procured the contract illegally, they could not reward him by giving him compensation. So all these things you see here, somebody somewhere is not doing their job. Once a contract is tainted with corruption, it is unenforceable. You cannot enforce it in a court of law. So somebody somewhere is not doing their work. If you look at the one of Ketraco, insolvency is a ground for terminating a contract, because an insolvent person loses the legal capacity to do certain things. Mm-hmm. So if I sign a contract with you and you become insolvent, it gives me the legitimate right to terminate that contract. Mm-hmm. So again, there's something you can clearly see is a problem here. Soleil Bonnet International of Israel, you can see here, like the other cases we've had, like the Erad one of the maize, you see the value of mutual legal assistance. The reason why this all came out is because of the investigations in Israel and people being convicted in Israel, not in Kenya. It's the same thing with the Erad story. So you asked, how do we fight corruption in this country? I am convinced if we are serious about fighting corruption in this country, we must establish special courts, we must invoke international frameworks, bring foreign investigators into this country, because we do corruption the cheap way. We are not sophisticated, most of us who engage in these things. We do forensic financial tracing, we go and open more spaces in committee. We will fill it in 6 months if we are serious.
Okay.
Yeah, Kenyans engage in very petty corruption, let me assure you.
Okay.
And what is lacking is a political commitment to put in place the structures that can be used to fight corruption. They are not there. Yeah. This EACC, this DCI you see here, the techniques they use to investigate financial crimes are very weak. How come it is only when we have foreign element in the investigations that we do convict? Yet here, nobody tells you money, how it moved from this bank to somebody's account. If they do it, it's the peripheral people, like the ones of Edaman of Lake Basin. Lake Basin is where a mall, the cost of building the mall has gone up 4 times. 4 times. Yeah. Because the financing structure, the financing model was wrong. And that was intentional.
Okay.
So anyway, if we get serious, one day we will fight this thing. But we are not serious yet. Yeah.
DG, what are your thoughts on this? Because you see, many people believe that the courts then are our last line of defense.
Yeah.
But some of these cracks you're seeing here are actually all the way to the courts. The courts awarded over 6.5 billion, another arbitration 8.7 billion. This actually went the whole long haul. And then that line of defense gives this ruling.
Well, I think that as a country we have real challenges. But of all those challenges, I think corruption is the biggest of them all. We have to make a decision as a country. And it seems to me that Kenyans are almost giving up on this issue of corruption. Even if you can hear the way my brothers are contributing. I mean, who is this who will rise up and say enough is enough? And before I get to what I think we can do, I want to tell you that what you are seeing there is also replicated in county governments. People will go to court for all reasons, and they'll be given some very hefty, they call them court decrees or awards, I'm not a lawyer. A case of Kisumu, there's a guy who went to court and was awarded, I think, more than 5 billion that the guy expected the county will be able to pay them. And they are numerous. I mean, if you think about, well, the guy was putting some containers illegally within the city. Then the county decided that, hey, you do not have permission from the county to do this here. So we confiscated the containers. Then he took us to court. Okay.
And you won 5 billion.
Yes.
As an award from the county.
As an award. And
Despite
that's
having put up the containers illegally.
And we have quite a number of those court decrees and awards, not just in the country of Kisumu. I mean, if you think about the country of Nairobi, it's one of the big issues they're dealing with in terms of what they call, pending bills. So it seems to me that corrupt individuals have found a safe haven in the judicial system. Okay, and that's exactly what you can see there. And so we need to really rethink as a country what we want to do to fight corruption. And in my view, this will be leadership. It's a leadership issue. And I was very excited, by the way, a few months ago when the president actually decided to confront this matter, at least in some spaces, that really unsettled people. But it seems to me that that discussion and that is already
fizzled out.
Yeah. Because as my colleagues here are saying, corruption seems to have permeated, every sector of our society. Kenyans now believe that there's nothing that you can get if you do not, try find your way. About it. And so we must rise up as a country, and especially the leaders such as ourselves, right from the presidency, to walk the talk, and bring back our country to some reason, and I think it is still possible that we can get ourselves out of there. We need to stop digging. And I think we keep digging. I mean, there's nowhere you can turn. If you go to the judiciary, it is the same thing. You go to government offices, it's the same thing. Even in the private sector, it is the same thing. The same private sector coming to seek for services from the, public sector would always want to entice them. The more reason now you see all those cases that, we are talking about. So for me, it is leadership.
Okay.
The leadership of this country must decide to lead our people out of this mess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, just before we conclude, we have a very progressive constitution, and we have relevant organs, of government that should fight corruption, but in a manner that conforms to the current trends. Yeah. The DCI, the EACC, they need to do something, man.
Okay. Javas, as we wind up on this.
Well, Trevor, I would say that protracted bid fixing and issues to do with political patronage have led to the entrenchment of corruption within the public sector. And most recently, when President William Ruto signed into law the Conflict of Interest Bill into law, it signaled a new awakening and direction of the intention and desire under President William Ruto to fight graft. But let's face it, it is easy to sit on panels and act puritanical when we know very well that the manner in which corruption has percolated the society, it is quite nauseating And not just in the public sector, as the DG has said, goes all the way even to the private sector. As Mheshimiwa here has indicated, these are issues that some political actors connive with some officers within government to have particular companies in which they have got interests to be awarded contracts. Then it all goes even to the family level. And so when we are talking about graft in the country, it must not just be limited to the public sector or to government alone, much as it's important because government is duty-bound in public interest to fight corruption and deliver services. Secondly, we have also seen the aspect of some parents at the family level. When parents go out of their way to try and using the back door access exams for their children, that is corruption starting right there. And if a child has succeeded in life by passing exams through corruption, the foundation itself laid on corruption, what do you expect of such kind of a child? The other thing is that the private sector also at times, and it's given lofty names in other places, lobbying, etc. and whatnot. When some bills come here in Parliament, we see how, where some private companies have got particular interests, we see how the political space is interfered with for purposes of making sure that maybe a particular bill does not see the light of day. And so, for example, even celebrated legislators, as it is on this panel, it's important for us to say that corruption must be fought not just at the executive level. Yes, executive must fight corruption. Yes, the judiciary must fight corruption. Yes, the legislature must fight corruption. Additionally, Trevor, of course, and Honorable Karori here is a member of ODM, and we appreciate the partnership or the MOU between ODM and UDA. And one of the critical issues within that MOU is the issue of fighting corruption and wastage of public resources. Now, that is a bearing issue as a matter of making sure, and political goodwill, remember that the political pillar is significant in the Vision 2030.
Yeah.
It is significant in making sure that the political fabric is not only stretched but strengthened for purposes of making sure that corruption is fought and fought properly.
All right.
I would conclude by saying this, Trevor, that when we have sufficient political goodwill, right, as it's been demonstrated by President William Ruto and Honorable Raila Odinga, if it will be followed by even legislators, and the president decried some members of parliament being conveyors of corruption and enablers of corruption, it is something that we need actually to fight.
Okay.
Look back, for example, even from 2014, when Kenya made history by coming up with the first Eurobond on the African continent. By 2016, Auditor General's report, the former Auditor General Edward Ouko, indicated that of the 250 billion shillings, 215.5 billion could not be accounted for. That there is corruption. The three major corruption scandals or financial scandals we've had in this country, one is Goldenberg, two is Anglo Leasing, three is the Eurobond scandals. Okay. For us even to see how we move forward and to deal with corruption today, we must make sure that all historical issues of corruption are unearthed and fought and concluded.
Gentlemen, I'll take a quick break. When you come back now, we talk about matters real politics now. I think there's a SG for Jubilee, Jeremiah Kioni, accused the DCP leader, Rigathi Gachagua, of working with the president. Now, former President Uhuru Kenyatta said that there are a lot of untested and untried means that are being put on Kenyans. And ODM, on the other side, he says, are wearing two caps. One, the Sifuna axis that criticizes the government, and then there's an axis that praises the government. We'll talk about all that in just a short while, right after this break. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. See you in a bit.